time for the GeoGeeks, our regular segment where we bring in a subject matter expert to tell us what's noteworthy in one of our core ArcGIS products.
And we're thrilled to welcome our newest GeoGeek. He's not a new voice on this podcast. Brandon Wheatley was one of our very first guests, and now is our resident ArcGIS Online GeoGeek. Brandon, welcome to the Spatial Report family.
Hey, Maggie. Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It's great to have us with you, and we're excited to have you on more regularly on these episodes. So since it's your first podcast as a GeoGeek, we want the audience to get to know you a little bit better. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to Esri Canada?
Yeah, great question. Nice to meet everyone. I actually started my journey in GIS in the paper map industry. So I was actually get to be a cartographer for a few years, made some paper maps that hopefully a few of you have used in your road trips, and decided to make the jump over to the digital world. And I met some Esri folks and built some relationships through the Community Maps program. And that's how I got my start over in Community Maps. And here I am now working on the tech marketing team with both of you, and I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, we're excited that you are part of this podcast, and now let's kind of get down to business because you're the ArcGIS Online GeoGeek, and we know that ArcGIS Online just had a recent release in February 2024. So there's a bunch of changes out there. Probably the biggest thing that's front and center with Online is the map viewer. So why don't you give us some ideas of what changed in the map viewer in this latest release?
Yeah, you're right. There was a series of updates here. A few little things to note with the map viewer, not any huge changes overall, but certainly some things to make note of depending on how you're using the map viewer. The first, there's been some updates to the sketch layers. So sketch layers have always been a great way to help give your map some additional context. And now you can work with them a little bit easier, being able to select them through the properties pane to either edit them, duplicate them, help make more of them throughout your map, all while being able to preserve symbol properties and pop-up information as well. One of the coolest ones might be for those of you leveraging who've been using media layers. So any type of like JPEG or PNG type of images can now be saved as individual items. So one media layer will get created per item. This will also help to preserve your georeferencing info or any blending or visual effects you may have added to that image. So no longer do you need to add the media layer to a map, save your map in order to hold on to that image. Media layers have grown up now. They can stand on their own. So now you can easily save them and even add them to any of your existing maps as well. And kind of one more thing to note with the map viewer is being able to make custom web styles. So any of those using ArcGIS Pro, you can publish your own web styles into the map viewer for any of your 2D symbology for your points, lines, or polygons. Those are probably three notable things that are new in the map viewer with this update.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Brandon. I especially love that ability to make those web layers. It's sometimes I'm a little slower at cartography in ArcGIS Online, so great to see that there's a way to use my pro skills and transfer them into online as well. Thanks for sharing that. And then we also, as everybody knows, Mark and I are big fans of ArcGIS Instant Apps. We always talk about how we love them here, and they're definitely one of our favorites. So is there anything new that you can share in the Instant App world from this latest update?
Yeah, there's been some updates there as well. So happy to say that that's all three of us then, because I'm also a big fan. And there's two main things I'd love to highlight with Instant Apps. And the first one is the new manager template. So I'm really excited about this. Not so much because I think it's flashy or cool, but I think your people will find it really functional. With the rise of all of our SaaS products, more and more people are turning to online or cloud-based solutions to run their analysis and store their work. But I find often people are still turning to classic desktop programs like ArcGIS Pro to perform that kind of data management, doing any quick edits, adding fields, and configuring your data. Well, hopefully the ArcGIS Instant Apps Manager template will make life a little bit easier. You can do all of those types of edits. It allows you to add, update, and delete features. You can display or edit related records, export out into a CSV, all while being able to view a map, an attribute table, and a details pane on the screen all at once. So I think this is going to be a great way for our users to help manage their data, all while still staying in that online environment. And a great use case I've heard for this one so far is being able to help review Survey 123 submissions. So as those records come in, you can review the results or maybe submissions through a Field Maps Smart form. So a great way to continue to use Esri technology on top of Esri technology. It's also giving me very strong Arc catalog vibes. For those of you who leveraged Arc catalog back in the day to help kind of manage and maintain your data, I couldn't help but to feel that way when looking at and using the template. So check that out for sure. And the second highlight to Instant Apps is the language switcher. So I've always kind of felt like one of the main goals of Instant Apps is to put your map in an app as quickly and as easily as possible, right? Why do many click when few click do trick? So one thing that I'm hoping with our Instant Apps is this is going to be even more accessible to our users is now from a drop-down list, you can select the language you'd like to preview or view the application in. And so this is now when authoring your web maps or Instant Apps, you can go in there and you can translate strings for any of your preset text for titles or descriptions and things like that. So no longer do you need to develop or configure multiple apps for different languages. The user will have that all inside one application and make that a lot easier for both sides of using Instant Apps.
Oh man, that is huge, especially here in Canada where we have, a bilingual country. I think that's going to be a big help. So thanks for pointing that out. That's really cool. So I know you went to the Federal GIS conference, and one of the big things they highlighted was ArcGIS data pipelines. But honestly, I have no idea what those are. So why don't you give us a Cole's notes of what data pipelines are all about?
You got it. Yeah, it's honestly kind of almost comes as advertised. It's a pipeline for your data. So it's a new integration application in ArcGIS Online, just giving users another way to ingest, prepare, and maintain your data. You get to work in a nice handy drag and drop environment, which is my favorite. So for those of you who are out there who are creators or GIS professionals, this gives you a way to connect to a variety of different online data sources, whatever cloud-based databases you may be using, perform some data preparation operations like clean or construct or integrate, and ultimately create hosted feature layers for your data to then be ready to use across the ArcGIS system. But that all sounds great, but really, as I'm curious, what does it do for you, right? Mark, how could you use it, or how could our customers use it as well? Well, kind of like the Instant Apps Manager template, it's another online application to help working with your data and managing your data online a lot easier. Really, you can kind of think of it as a robust ETL tool. And so when using it, I challenge you to open it up or view it online and have it not remind you of Model Builder. I know that's exactly what came to mind for me, and I'm sorry if that ruins the facade for you. It shouldn't. Model Builder is awesome. But I think you would have made the connection anyway. Once you start to see the bubbles, the drag and drop workflow, you can see exactly what's happening. I think it's going to be a great way for our users to manage their data into different formats, and it can be all scheduled as well. So in the online interface as well, if you can set things up on a scheduled routine to keep your data always up to date. Really excited to see the use cases that come out of pipelines.
I absolutely agree. It does look a lot like Model Builder, and I haven't played with it much, but in the first few times trying it out, it's a lot easier than you might think. So definitely recommend people give it a chance. All right, Brandon, ArcGIS Online is a massive product. As we know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there and a lot of things that happens in every update. But is there anything that really stood out to you that you wanted to shout out from this latest release?
Great question. Yeah, there is at least one other area that I'd love to shine some light on. And since you asked me, I'd be remiss to not mention any of the updates that have come out to the Business Analyst web application. I'd say overall, this is a fairly normal sized step for the ArcGIS Online update, but overall a pretty large leap for the Business Analyst application. Quite a few things have changed and been improved since the last update, starting with the redesigned suitability analysis workflow. So one of the most popular analysis tools in the online application. For those of you that noticed the change that happened with the color-coded map tool in the last update, suitability analysis now has the same enhancements, and not only with how you interact with the tool and the input parameters, but also how you see and the results are displayed on the screen. So you get those super informative infographics along the bottom, which give you some summary statistics about what you've just run, show you some outliers or consistencies in your data, both in a tabular or in a chart format. A really, really cool enhancement to that tool. So I'm excited to work with that some more. Another thing that people may have noticed is hexagons have slowly been introduced in your analysis as another way to help represent your data over evenly spaced areas. And well, they're everywhere now. So you can use hexagons in the color-coded maps tool, in smart map search, or in suitability analysis. So I'm great and happy to see that. There's been some enhancements as well to the points of interest search. So no longer is it just hanging on individual keywords. There's a whole new system in there to work on related keywords through a semantic style search. So any type of related records can also come up. So it's not just going to look for the exact words you type. And of course, the ever-growing library of infographics. I'm always so excited with these updates to see what new infographics are coming out. There's a variety of new ones, as well as featuring the new infographic gallery. So this is available to standard and advanced users, and these are going to be industry and very topic-specific focused infographics to help you tell your stories in greater graphical detail. So just some areas there with the business analyst I wanted to highlight. Thanks for giving me a minute to talk about that.
Shout out BA. I know you had to slip it in there, so Brandon, really appreciate that. A lot of good stuff there. And thank you for joining us on the pod. We can't wait to have you more often on our podcast. So thanks, Brandon, for joining us today.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Maggie. Thanks so much for having me. This is great, and I look forward to chatting again soon.
Fantastic. That was Brendan Wheatley. He is a technical solution specialist with the technical marketing team here at Esri Canada, and he joined us from Toronto.